fits into health insurance. Group health insurance, again, it's generally cheaper than an individual policy and a lot more comprehensive. However, I'm not 100% certain this always is true. One of the things that has eluded me, and we'll talk about this in class, I guess, is how we determine what premium should be. In general, what happens is they decide, what pool you're in, what pool is your company in. So let's take Thomas More, for example. I mean, we have roughly around 300 people probably work at Thomas More. All those people are our pool. So we have a relatively small pool. So if anybody gets terribly sick with very high expenses, everybody's insurance goes up. What would seem to me to be more reasonable, because the insurance company we use is a huge insurance company, is that they should pool everybody together. All of their customers get pooled together to determine what coverage is, or what the cost of coverage is within the individual companies. This should reduce all of the costs of insuring folks. Maybe we don't need Obamacare, we just need some reasonable pricing mechanisms that help determine ultimately what the prices of insurance should be. I think at Thomas More, I think the cost is roughly $900 a person, or $900 is what the cost is to the college. And of course, we pay a percentage of that. Again, some of the nice things about group healthcare policies, typically they have no physical exams required, generally broader coverage. They say they're a little bit cheaper, obviously. I mean, the major challenge here, though, is what happens when you leave the company. You go to another company. Then you're subjected to whatever that company tends to offer then. Government health care insurance, then, obviously is for a variety of folks. They're for those individuals that are have less income than anybody else, those low income people. But it also refers to those senior citizens, right? People that are 65 and older. So they have what are referred to as the Medicare, Medicaid types of policies, right? Medicare's hospital benefits, called Part A. That's what we pay through our Social Security payroll taxes. Medicare's medical benefits plan, Part B, is optional, and that's paid for by general tax revenue, but it's also paid for by premiums. You pay a premium for that. We also have two other plans. You have Medicare Advantage and a prescription drug coverage plan. So those are the basic plans of Medicare, Medicaid. The challenge is those plans don't cover everything. There are gaps in Medicare. So frequently you'll see on the news, etc., where there are, as I say at the bottom here, they call it Medigap or Medicare supplemental policies, where they offer, for a price, obviously, for a premium, a way to fill in the gaps of things that aren't covered. And again, you can review down through and see exactly what the actual gaps are here. Medicare for hospital insurance, Medicare pays, everything except for whatever is the deductible. But here's the deductible. In 2012, it was $1,156 was deductible for the first 60 days, $289 for the 61. I mean, it changes. So there are obviously parts of this that are not covered by Medicare, and this is where the gap insurance would come into play. And again, just some more ideas and concepts about what the Medigap. Here's what the Medigap insurance covers. And of course, this was as it says there, 2007. Benefits that you receive from health benefits are generally tax-free. Individual premium payments are tax deductible. If you're making your own individual policy payments, you can deduct them. It's subject to the adjustable gross income floor. Employer health benefits are tax-free to the employee. The employee premium payment obviously is a deductible business expense. So the benefits are generally tax-free. If you pay for your own insurance, you do get to deduct them as long as it's you reach a certain threshold in taxes. The ideal health insurance company, is going to have one of the two highest ratings. I mean, you can't get beyond the concept of ratings. There are companies out there that rate insurance. Hopefully, we would find somebody that offers efficient, fair, and courteous claim services. Every company has challenges with this. You want to have a company that cannot cancel your policy, right? And you want a company that maintains a policy of not raising premiums directly based on your claims. They have to be based on the claims of a pool. So what's the plan? Obviously, you want to select the plan, analyze the coverage, look at costs, try to identify, check out the quality of those plans, and then obviously the fifth step here for an ideal health insurance plan is to think about the convenience factor, right? How easy is it to deal with the coverage and the insurance themselves? The next kind of insurance we want to talk about is disability income insurance. And we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but it is very important. I mean, what happens at your job should you become injured and you can't work for 2 months? Do you lose your job, right? How are you going to make up that loss of income? Right, so this chance of disabled is very, very critical. So we need something that helps us to cover that income loss. And it could be either short-term or long-term. Again, the definitions of short-term or long-term differ by contract, but essentially if you're going to be out for, say, 2-3 months, maybe the short-term coverage is what is going to help compensate you a little bit for lost income. If it's long-term, it's going to be 5-10 years, then maybe disability insurance on the long-term variety is what's going to be necessary. Typically, you have to wait some time until payments will start, though. So short-term, usually you got to wait up to 30 days. Long-term, it could be much longer. It could be 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Again, 3 months is actually the most popular of the waiting times for these long-term policies. Now, what we have to be concerned about with disability income insurance is the definition of disability, right? There are essentially two categories of disability, if you will. You will receive payment if you cannot perform any occupation. You can receive a payment if you cannot perform the occupation you were trained for. So obviously the second one is a little bit more generous to the patient, right? If you were trained to be a steel worker and you get injured, right? Well, you could still maybe be not that there's anything wrong with it, but maybe you could flip burgers at McDonald's. If you could flip burgers at McDonald's, this first coverage would say, no, you're going to have to take that job. You can perform a job we're not paying. But in the first job, you could receive some compensation because you just couldn't do the job that you ultimately were trained for. Partial disability usually allows you, pays if you can earn over about 55% of your income. Residual disability will make up the difference of any lost income, right? So again, there are a variety of definitions, and here's where you have to be very careful when you purchase disability income. You need to know what's going to be covered and when it's going to be covered, because that could ultimately move you from one policy to another to get better benefits. Frequently, disability insurance is what's referred to as integrated with Social Security, right? It only covers those things that Social Security may not cover. And of course, now we have to be concerned with, the difficulties of actually getting Social Security benefits. So again, there are challenges with this integration piece as well. For an individual policy, benefits are tax-free to the person since he or she paid for the premiums. Premium payments for disability insurance, though, is not deductible. So it's not deductible, but if you get benefits, it is tax-free. From a group policy, if the benefits are taxable to the employee, right, unless it was with after-tax dollars, the benefits are taxable, right? If employer premium payments are considered a gross income item to the employee, the employer gets to write off the premiums as a business expense, but the benefits themselves ultimately are taxable to the employee if they receive them. So again, you can read down through here, recognize, in general, what are the features of a good disability policy? How do you figure out what disability insurance is needed? Well, you kind of look at a couple things. What income is available? What are the monthly expenses, right? So we have a net need for additional income is going to cover that. So in this case, when I became disabled, my income went down to $1,300. My monthly expenses are $4,600, so now I need $3,300 to cover that. So how much disability insurance coverage is available? I need $4,000. The maximum allowed 60%, that's $2,400. So the shortfall in disability coverage that I currently have is, it covers the salary covers $44,000, but it only pays 60% of that. So then that means I still have a shortfall of $900. Another type of insurance to discuss a little bit is long-term care insurance. Long-term care insurance historically has been known as nursing home insurance, but is a far broader product now, and quite frankly, a far more user-friendly type of insurance. Mostly because of this second bullet here. The best policies here, the third bullet. Best policies actually cover in-home care. So you don't necessarily have to go to a nursing home in order to get some compensation, some money to help cover expenses of taking care of someone. If they live at home, you can also get that as well. So again, normally it's nursing home care. Not necessarily. Again, nursing home care is not necessarily for the elderly. I had a friend recently who, he's a single guy. He's about 58, 59 years old, and he had both knees replaced. He had no children, nobody to help take care of him, so he had actually had to go to a nursing home for a while he was in rehabilitation to help cover his care. Recently he's now come back out because obviously he's better and he doesn't need that anymore, right? The cost of care is not cheap. It's kind of expensive. We can do some loss sharing, right? There could be some waiting periods. There could be daily benefit maximums that are imposed, right? There may be certainly benefits. It will only cover a benefit period for a certain period of time. Maybe it only covers the person. Maybe it only covers them for 8 years. After 8 years, then the cost then refers back to the patient. Let's talk a little bit more. Again, this all has to do with, I guess this might be out of order, but we have some disability insurance contract riders. What triggers some of this. And I think, one of the reasons why this might also be here, maybe this isn't out of order, is that it also hooks up with long-term care. What determines whether or not you get certain benefits for disability and or for long-term care? So they refer to things as ADLs. All right, these are daily tasks that everybody should be able to perform. There's a list of 6 of them. If you're unable to perform 2 of the 6, or you have some type of cognitive impairment, that could be a trigger that triggers some of these conditions, or your ability to go to some of these places. You know, if it's expected to last more than 90 days, it could be, again, it could trigger the benefit piece to long-term care and or disability. There could be waiver of premiums, waiver of elimination periods, right? There could be, we talked about waiver of premium with respect to life insurance. This works in the same way. Possibly we buy inflation protection. I mean, if you buy long-term care coverage when you're 40 years old, you might not need that till you're 70. Well, what's the cost going to be then? The cost is going to be different. So you may want to have incorporated some type of inflation protection. The kinds of services you get are wide and varied, right? They go from skilled nursing care, they go down to just maybe assisted living, maybe just some custodial care, right? They go down to pre-hospitalization care, adult daycare. Quite frankly, a thing that's becoming very big right now is Alzheimer's coverage. I mean, you have to make certain that if you purchase long-term care insurance, that Alzheimer's coverage is incorporated. Historically, it was not a coverage that was in policy, so you need to take a look at that. What about taxation? And qualified policy benefits are tax-free. Qualify means they're somehow incorporated into your compensation. Individual premium payments are tax deductible. So employer health benefits are tax-free. The employer premium payment is a deductible business expense. So obviously a lot of the benefits that you receive are tax-free with respect to long-term care. Well, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop here before we start talking about homeowners. I'm going to end this thing. We're getting to be kind of a long presentation. I'll start this with part 2 in a moment.